What is up, my friends? Good evening to you all. You are very welcome to tonight's show. Quick glance down just to make sure I'm not on mute, because I was on mute a moment ago, but I remembered, so yay. Look, we're not trying to be negative tonight. I know you're going to look at the stream title and you're going to think what it's about. As always, these things are backed up with information from the media. So before people come in having a go at us, I see a few people in the chat saying they're not injured, they're not injured. I'm not the one putting out this information. I'm merely the, guy delivering it. Now, I will go through it. I will explain as best as I can to everybody where we are. You've probably seen a lot of the news today already. If you haven't, I'm going to give you the highlights really quickly. We don't know, as of yet, the full extent of Diogo Jota's injury or Curtis Jones. There are some rumours, there is some conjecture about how long particularly Diogo might be out for. As I sit here right now, we don't have a definitive answer to that. But with regarding to Mohamed Salah and Darwin Núñez, look, the information comes from a credible place. It comes from Steve Hoare, who's part of Red Men TV. And Red Men TV, as you all know, are not ones for sensationalising anything. If they get this information, if Steve posted this, look, you know me, they're a competitor of mine, but I have respect for Steve Hoare. And if he said, hearing Núñez is a doubt for the final and Salah's 50-50 for Wednesday, he had cramps and fatigue, you can bet your backside that there's some truth to it, because they aren't sensationalists and they have their finger on the pulse. So that's where we're at. And we got to try and figure out what the plan is going to be here. Now, look, a doubt is a doubt. It's not 100% out. But it is leaving us in a position where we are unlucky. Because that's all I can say. I'm not going to point the finger of blame here at anybody. It's just going to be a tricky period for us over the next few weeks. And I guess we've got to try and figure out what the best course of action is. Is Mo injured or not? Literally, Omar, have I not just explained to you exactly what I said? Are you looking to be banned, bro? Because don't take your little hissy fits out on me. I'm not the one claiming anything. I'm just giving you the information. If you don't want me to come on at night and give you the news, fair enough, watch it elsewhere. But he has cramps after coming back from injury, and that's not unexpected. Now, for me, I'll be honest with you, I don't particularly give a damn about the League Cup final on Sunday. I know that's where a lot of other people's priorities are, but for me, I want Salah to be fit for the league game. I want Liverpool to focus on winning the league and the Europa League. That's my goals for the season. So I'd rather we put a strong team out Wednesday, personally, but I would imagine that the idea of a final at Wembley is appealing, and I think based off what we're seeing now, fair to say both gentlemen are a doubt for Wednesday. And Salah, I don't know if he's a doubt for the final or not. If he doesn't play Wednesday, absolutely he won't be a doubt for the final if he rests up, because it is only cramps. So it is important we put that out there. I know it's disappointing, Omar. I get it, bro. Honestly, I wish I could come on and talk about more positive news, but that's where we're at the minute, unfortunately. And, you know, I know we're all frustrated because the injuries are mounting up. I don't know what else to say. I'm trying to be as positive about it as I can, but unfortunately we are where we are. I don't know. Well, do you know what? There has to be something to the idea that players are maybe being, I don't want to use the phrase rushed back, because I think that's demeaning, but are we a little too enthusiastic perhaps to get players back? Are we listening to players maybe a little bit too much over the medical team or the sports science team? Because however we look at it, Salah came back relatively quick. He's now struggling with cramps. That's normal enough. Trent, we seen come back from a knee injury only to be out again with a knee injury. Dominic Szoboszlai was a similar situation with his hamstring injury. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think this is the first hamstring injury Alisson has had this season either. So are we scraping by? Now look, there's a good train of thought that, you know, footballers are probably never really 100% fit. A lot of them are always playing with niggles and stuff, and that's one of the downsides to the sheer amount of football that these guys have been asked to play. You know, if you see other sports, for example, let's look at NFL. 6-month off season to really recuperate, to get your operation done if you need something to heal up. With football, you never really have that turnaround. You know, you're lucky if you get 10 weeks off in the summer as a professional footballer. You won't get that, but you'd be lucky if you did. So these are the things that we don't know the ins and outs of, but a lot of players will be playing on. For instance, just listen to Jurgen speaking about Curtis Jones. He said if Curtis Jones had any opportunity to play, if he thought he could play through the pain, he would have done it. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but that's the gist of what Jurgen said. So I'm not trying to make out like these guys are soft or anything like that, but something has to be asked about how on earth are we at this point of the season with 9-10 players injured. It's not a great look. It's unlucky, but it is where we are. There's just too many matches, said Red Knight. Then there were 2 and Harvey possibly. I don't know what's going on with Harvey. I've not heard anything, Ian, today on Harvey Elliott to suggest that he's a doubt. So yeah, that's where we're at with the news. So I haven't said something to you yet because I can't stand over it, but I guess I have to talk about it. So I think it was Dave O.C. Cop and Anything Liverpool posted this, said Diogo Jota had a scan on his knee last night. There are initial fears of a PCL injury, but are yet to be confirmed. Now, I don't know what to make of that. I don't know why, if you had the scan, it wouldn't have shown you definitively an answer. Perhaps it was too swollen. Don't know. But I also am going to sit here and claim to be a medical expert. But if there is any type of ligament injury for Diogo Jota, whether it's anterior cruciate ligament or otherwise, don't know if I'd be exaggerating to say his season's over. Probably would be. You know, I would imagine you're talking 3 months minimum. But until we get the absolute confirmation from the club, we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm just worried we may lose the league due to injuries. I think we all are, Lisa. And that's why I said, for me, Wednesday's more important. I know, it probably sounds weird, right? Luton at home is more important than a League Cup final, but with the momentum going the way it's gone, with the fact that we've gone to Brentford and won, with Manchester City drawing with Chelsea, and Arsenal, you know, in a good vein of form, I feel like we have to focus on Wednesday and then see who's available. I mean, if I'm Jurgen Klopp, that's my priority. I won't lie to you. You know, I'd say to Mohamed Salah, can you give me an hour on Wednesday? And if you're cramping up and you can't play in the League Cup final, we'll deal with that. But for me, getting those 3 points on Wednesday is a priority. What is a PCL injury? I don't know. I'm sure it's something cruciate ligament. Posterior, probably, at a guess. But there it is, yes. Posterior injury. There we go. So, yeah. It's a ligament strain. And once you hear the word ligaments, it's never great, is it? Craig, this has got to be another reason why we joined the Super League, is you could have possibly more injuries. I think no to the Super League. What needs to happen is what people and players have been saying for years, is somebody needs to look after the well-being of footballers, because truly there's too much asked of them. Whether you're talking about Mo and the AFCON or the Asia Cup for Endo, when do these dudes get a break? Because most of the players are going straight into the Euros in the summer. It's never ended. They don't get a chance to heal. They don't get a chance to recuperate. And it just ends up players and us as the footballing public not getting the same product that we probably should be getting, because the players were exhausted. The best example I can give you off the top of my head, look at last season's Champions League final between Inter Milan and Manchester City. It was a horrible affair. Not because of the clubs that were in it, although we all have our own thoughts on them. But anybody who watched that game will see that it wasn't the best Manchester City. It wasn't the best Inter Milan. It was a poor standard of final because of sheer exhaustion. And that's the highlight. That's the biggest game of the season. That's the Champions League final. It should be played with people at their peak, at the pinnacle of the game. And it wasn't. And it's exhaustion. Craig, 100% let's get Wednesday night game out of the way, and whatever happens on will happen first, said John Power. So I'm going to ask, you know I love a poll in the chat. I'm going to ask you guys, which is your priority? So let's get this. 1 second. I'm going to ask you which one's more important. or the League Cup final? Right, poll there. Which is more important for you, Wednesday or the League Cup final? For me, without a shadow of a doubt, Wednesday. And I know it's not the sexiest fixture, but it doesn't really matter. 3 points are 3 points are 3 points. So for me, I take a poorer team put out against Chelsea and see what we can do. Maybe we win it late. Maybe we win it on penalties. Don't really mind. But I tell you what, if we drop points because we've taken our eye off the ball on Wednesday, that undoes that result last night or yesterday for Manchester City and Chelsea. It puts momentum back in other people's hands. So that's why I'm so adamant that for me, Wednesday's massive. What's happened to Darwin? Well, Flynn, you heard Jurgen yesterday say that he felt something. Now, what something is, I can't guess that. But he said he felt something, so they took him off. Now, as I mentioned at the start, Steve Hoare, who, my phrase, he knows his onions. Steve definitely knows what he's talking about. He's well connected, and he said, hearing Núñez is a doubt for the final, and Salah's 50-50 for Wednesday. And he's not somebody that bullshits. Steve and the lads at Red Men, we have our competitive differences, but they're not bullshitters. If they say that, they're genuinely been hearing that. So it concerns me. If it was somebody else, if it was Indy Kayla or something, I wouldn't have brought it to you guys. I wouldn't have brought the news up. But when it comes from somebody who I think as highly of as Steve, then there you go. What happened to Salah? So it's cramps, mate. It's cramps. It's not an injury for Mo. Let's be very open and clear about that. But he's a doubt for Wednesday. But Núñez is a doubt for the final. So Salah being a doubt for Wednesday, it's not good news, but it's not a surprise to me. I've said this to you guys many times. When players come back from injuries, sometimes you get secondary injuries, fatigue, but in this case, it's cramping. So hopefully, massage, rest, and fingers crossed we get something out of Mo on Wednesday. Whether that's last 30 minutes or whether that's first 60, I don't know. But looking at the attacking options we have, I think it's safe to say Diogo's going to be out. So you're then down to Gakpo and Diaz as confirmed players who'll be fit and available. After that, your guess is as good as mine. Do you go with young Kumas? Do you risk Mo? Certainly, if we're going off what Steve said, a doubt for the final for Núñez would pretty much rule him out of Wednesday. Alisson news. Again, Daniel, not heard a confirmed timeline for Alisson. I've heard whispers of 4 to 6 weeks, but they aren't confirmed, so I don't know what to say. But it is concerning to me that we had Alisson have a hamstring injury earlier on in the season, and now he has another one. So it either didn't heal up properly, or it's a concern. You've got Trent with the knee, who was brought back, played a couple of games, now seemingly out again. You got Szoboszlai with a hamstring injury, brought back, and he's out again. So I know people will call others conspiracy theorists, but I've often said if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's most likely a duck. And right now, I think the conversation about are we perhaps too eager to get players back? And I get it. I know these are the type of things that if you take the risk and nothing happens, nobody talks about it. But unfortunately for us now, we've got 9 or 10 injuries by the looks of it, which isn't great. Do I think we're rushing players back? I don't know, Arian. It would be pure guesswork from me, But what I would say a bit more confidently is perhaps there's too much weight given to the player's opinion, which I know probably sounds weird, but players want to win. Players want to play as much as possible. So perhaps Jurgen's saying to Trent or Szoboszlai, how are you feeling? Medical teams say it's on the edge. How are you feeling? And the players will probably naturally go, I'm okay. Yeah, I think I can play. So sometimes maybe the players need to be rescued from themselves in these, because we'd all do it, We'd all do it. You want to help your teammate out. You want to succeed. You want to play. And nobody likes being injured. But I don't know. Where do you get the balance? Why do we have all these injuries? Again, I don't know. Does the League Cup give a Champions League spot? No. It gives a Europa League spot. So no, it doesn't give a league spot or a Champions League spot. But look, we're good for a Champions League spot this season from our league position. I've mentioned this before, top 5 will get you into the Champions League this season, so there's no way we're dropping down that far at this point. Bradley, his difference will win the league. Bradley's been brilliant. And if anything, having the ability to play Conor Bradley or Joe Gomez at right back when Trent's not available is brilliant. It's a fantastic boost to the squad. So, yeah, that's okay, but we're still lacking a little bit in midfield, especially if Jones is out now. Do you go, McAllister and Elliott, McAllister and Gravenberch? But you can only play them so many times, right, before they're going to need to be rested or rotated. So the last thing you want to do was overplay other people now. It's just a horrible balancing act, but that's why I asked at the start of the stream, what's the priority for you? Is it Wednesday or is it the League Cup final? The Detective, how are you, sir? Thank you for a super chat of the night. Appreciate you. Said we couldn't have had more patience than we did with Thiago. Yes, bro, I'm with you on that. But Chechis has had a year off. Hopefully we've learned with Trent and Dom we don't rush them back. The Thiago one was particularly frustrating because he ended his season early last year, April I think, to have that operation. And the plan at the time was to have him back for pre-season, have him back for the start of the campaign. And we all know how that went. As you said, it looked like the club were very patient. Klopp said he looked great in training. But then he comes on, plays 10 minutes, has 12 touches, and he's ruled out again for a couple of months at the best, by the looks of it. What's going on with Núñez and Salah? Okay, again, just to report, Steve Hoare, who knows his onions and is a properly well-connected football fella, part of Red Men TV, and somebody who I have immense respect for, said, hearing Núñez is a doubt for the final and Salah is 50-50 for Wednesday. He had cramps and fatigue, apparently. Now, I can absolutely believe Salah was cramping up after being out for, 20, 21, 25 days, something like that, and coming in playing such a high-intensity game. Yeah, no issues about him having cramps, but I guess how quickly can he come back from those cramps is the unanswered question here. Now, the way Steve phrased that, he said Salah's 50-50 for Wednesday, which means he's almost certainly safe for the final as things stand. But that's why I asked at the start of the stream, what's the priority for you guys? Is it Wednesday or is it the final? For me, it's 100% Wednesday. Sean said PCL is the partial or complete tearing of something of the posterior cruciate ligament. Once you hear the words ligament or cruciate ligament, it's usually scary, Sean. It never usually ends well. Even if it strains, these things tend to be a rather significant amount of time out. Best case scenario in these things is contact injuries. So somebody gets a bit of swelling and it goes down and they're back playing. And I'm hoping that maybe that's some good news that we get on Jones, because it certainly feels like Jota's the one that the club were initially more concerned about. But it's those innocuous ones, isn't it? Like, if you look back on it, McAllister stood on Jota's leg. Then when he went to ground, it looked like when the Luton player landed on him, there was somewhat of a hyperextension of his knee. And that's probably, it's certainly where the issue would be. Cramps are a soft injury, really, nothing to worry about. 100%. That's in reaction to him coming back from so long out, mate, and his body just trying to get back up to match day fitness. But if you're Jurgen and you're hearing 50-50, let's say the medical team said to Jurgen, Salah's 50-50 for Wednesday, coach. He could play, but there's a chance then he becomes injured for Sunday and he could be out for a bit longer. The common sense thing to do there, of course, is to not lean on Mohamed Salah on Wednesday. But if you drop points, then straight away the question's going to be, well, if we had have played Salah, would we have X, Y, or Z? I don't know the answers. But I know we're running out of options at the minute. Trying to put together a team in my own head for the prediction video tomorrow, and it's not the easiest. Right, I've got more stuff to go through. Now to give you slightly positive spin, because we've started off on a negative tonight, and it's not great, but there might be some positive news. Again, this comes from Footy Insider, and it said Liverpool are plotting to bring Bayer Leverkusen's manager Xabi Alonso and sporting director Simon Rolfs to the club in a sensational double swoop. So, again, I think we'll have to wait to see the announcement of the sporting director. And I've said this for a few days now. The sporting director announcement, whenever it comes, is going to give us a really good insight into whether Xabi Alonso is going to be the next Liverpool manager. Now, you're going to get people trying to jump the gun. You're going to get people saying Xabi Alonso's confirmed all this stuff. I've been told these things. I don't believe them yet, because I'm on a wait for an announcement on the sporting director. Now, you might be aware of this, or you might not, but Bayern Munich lost today by 3-2 against Bochum. So that is almost certainly going to be Thomas Tuchel getting the bullet. He's going to be fired. So then what happens? Do you make a quicker move to try and get Alonso? Because I'm sure Bayern are going to be in that conversation. Although I heard Jose Mourinho's learning German. But it also means that Bayer Leverkusen and Xabi are now in a very commanding position to go and win that Bundesliga title. 8 points clear with 14 games to go, 12 or 14 games to go. So you'd imagine Xabi's league title's looking fairly nailed on unless they completely capitulate. But that's the little bit of bright news today, I guess, is that if we are planning on making that double appointment, that would be a big announcement. Kane is well cursed. I know, did you hear Thomas Tuchel say that Kane isn't happy? But to hear Thomas Tuchel speak about it, he wasn't saying Kane isn't happy from the point of view of Kane's an arsehole. He was basically talking about Kane setting the standards on the training ground. The way I interpreted it was Kane's pretty much better than everybody else at Bayern, and doesn't think everybody else is living up to delivering him the opportunities to score like he does in training. That's kind of how I interpreted what Tuchel said. Bayern lost again. Yes, they did, mate. Yeah, 3-2 today to Bochum. Went 1-0 up, went 2-0 down, and then 3-2 in the end. And Upamecano sent off again. So he was sent off in the Champions League midweek against Lazio, sent off against Bochum today. It's all going a bit Pete Tong for Thomas Tuchel and Bayern Munich. Not nervous at all about Xabi going to Bayern. Either am I, Brett. Either am I. A lot of people are nervous about it. I'm not at all. And I so much so that I'm almost questioning myself. Like, for me, why would you go to Bayern Munich from Bayer Leverkusen at this point? It just doesn't feel like a good fit. It feels like a far easier pathway to come to Liverpool, who are in a better position right now with regards to the club moving forward. Will be back in Champions League football. And let's be frank, let's be honest about this. No disrespect to Bayern Munich, but everything won at Liverpool Football Club is a bigger deal. You know, if you win a league title at Liverpool, it's a big fucking deal. If Xabi can win us a European Cup, it's a massive deal. I have no nerves about it. In fact, in my mind, it's a matter of when and not if, but it is just a feeling. Sorry, I'm trying to get more news here. Bayern will not sack Tuchel and he will not resign, said Florian Plettenberg. Yeah. Let's see if that works out. Tuchel will absolutely be gone. Whether he lasts the remainder of the season or not, he's treading water at this point. And nobody will convince me that Bayern aren't already sounding out managers behind the scenes to replace Tuchel, because if you don't win the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich after spending 100 million on Harry Kane, you're going to get fired. Been watching for years, love the content, keep it up. Nathan, appreciate you. Really, thank you to all of you who are watching, supporting. Thank you so much. I love you all dearly, and I was sitting around all day waiting for this stream. You probably noticed it's at 8:30 tonight. That's because I wanted to get in and talk about this, because I knew people were going to have questions and I want to try answer them as best as I can. Want to get your opinion on this from Michael Owen, if I can be. And don't worry, for people coming in late, I will go back over everything. Just bear with us a couple of moments. I want to get your thoughts on this from Michael Owen. He said, I'm going to read out the entire post. That finish from Darwin Núñez yesterday was insane. I can't stop watching it. So far, so good. And I can't begin to explain how difficult the skill that is. Moving at pace, the ball running away from you, being inside the box with no room for error. Incredible. So you're thinking, oh wow, Michael Owen being a nice guy here. he starts to get a bit Clinty. Then he said, but, all capitals, it is also further proof that if he is to get closer to becoming the great player many people think he can be, he has to adapt his way of thinking. I mean, to even consider that finish is madness. It's a 1 in 10, 2 in 10 finish at best. Learning to slot, dink, or go around the goalkeeper is a far more productive way to score and will increase his chances to 4 or 5 out of 10, thus massively increasing his end return. I'm not really trying to rain on his parade, as that goal was pure class, but I'd rather see it when Liverpool are 3-0 up, not at 0-0. The ball went in the net. I don't give a shit what Michael Owen thinks the better options are. Ask Garnacho today if he wishes he had have dinked the ball over the goalkeeper rather than trying to run around him against Luton, and I'm sure you'll get the answer that he wouldn't have given a damn as long as the ball went in the back of the net. I found that kind of like Michael Owen trying to give a compliment and then immediately showing that he's a twat. I don't see that. He could have left it after the first few sentences and we'd all gone, oh, fair play, Michael giving Darwin a bit of confidence, a bit of a praise. But no. If we need any information, Michael, on how to run off and join Manchester United, mate, we'll ask. I hate him. I can't stand him. Honestly. He's not somebody I think of fondly from Liverpool, even though he was an exceptional player. But I could never take to him. I was a Robbie Fowler person through and through. I could never take to Michael Owen. How did Casemiro not get sent off? You want my honest opinion on this, right? You know me. I'm not going to hold back, so don't come at me. I counted up 6 or 7 fouls in the first half from Casemiro. And the second foul when he'd already received the booking, so the first foul after the booking, the one just about 43, 42 minutes, 100% yellow card, 100% should have been sent off. Look at David Coote. Look at his profile picture. You know what I'm going to say. He should have been sent off. Coote knows he should have been sent off. Everybody inside that stadium knows he should have been sent off. Ten Hag knows he should have been sent off. Casemiro knows he should have been sent off. And the reason, they all know is because he did what every manager in that position that gets away with one does. Took him off straight away at half time. And I called it in our Discord group as soon as he got away with the foul. He's getting taken off in 2 minutes because it's the obvious thing to do. But United hung on and won that game. And to me, this is an example of manipulation of a game by a referee. And it's fucking clear. It happens too often. Casemiro gets away with way too much. And United, by the way, are dog shit. I don't want to hear anything about these 3 young players becoming the next great hopes and turning down Champions League or chasing Champions League spots. They're shite. They should have been beaten today by Luton. And they got gifted a goal in the first 2 minutes. In the first minute. And I had to sit there listening to Gary Neville talk about power and pace. He was headed the ball and he was through on goal and he scored. Well done for that. But the way Neville was going on in commentary, you'd swear he just did a Rabona from the halfway line with this power and pace bullshit. Dude was headed the ball. Through on goal, 1-on-1 with the keeper, and he put it in the net. Brilliant. The second goal from Hoyland, all class. Totally agreed that he meant it. Great finish. But I couldn't stomach listening to Neville. It was disgusting. It was just bullshit. Bullshit. And the excuse making for the diving as well. Rashford goes down like he'd been punched squarely in the face. Embarrassing. I don't understand how Neville is allowed to comment on United. Because I pay my goddamn hard-earned money. And listening to that fool talk absolute fucking drivel on Sky, the two-faced arrogant git that he is, I'm sick of him. He talks about our players cheating and diving and feigning when we got 2 penalties in the game that were both blatant penalties, and excuses all the antics from the United players because he's full of shit. And he doesn't like being called out either. He throws his toys out of the pram. Ask Goldbridge how he gets on whenever he calls out Neville. Neville can dish it out, but he can't fucking take it because he's a hypocrite. That's why on the Overlap and all these other shows, he has no marks on them. People that won't dare give him an opinion. Put me on there and I'll fucking run rings around him and Roy Keane because they're both full of shit. That's my opinion on it. So I told you I was going to give you an honest answer. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it all. I'm sick of accepting that this is how football is now in the PGMOL. That David Coo can do that. And you know what'll happen? Tomorrow, Dermot Gallagher on Sky going to come out and go, I think they can consider themselves lucky there. It's not lucky though, Dermot, is it? It's not lucky. It's intentional. And it happens over and over. And I don't give a shit about United this season because they're crap. But I'm just saying, you knew as soon as that foul happened that Coote wasn't sending him off. Everybody surrounded him. You couldn't believe that it wasn't a second yellow card. But then I and you and other fans have to look at McAllister and Jones getting sent off for nothing. Nothing. Neville needs a humbling badly because he thinks he is the football prime minister or something. He shites on about the United way and all this other crap. He's just another fanboy on television. Yes, he played for United, but the bias and bullshit that comes out of his mouth when he commentates on them is honestly comical. And people are going to say, whoa. Carragher's the same. No, he's not. No, he's not. Carragher knows he's walking a bit of a fine line there. And Carragher's a bit more of a company man, I would say, than Neville. And also, I don't hear any of them talking about the 115 charges because I'm sick of hearing them fluffing Manchester City week in and week out, Pep Guardiola, this great group of players, all this other stuff. No mention of the potential biggest corruption in English football history ever. Ever. No, don't mention that though. Why not? You're supposed to be people that care about the game. You say it often enough. You care about the game. You care about the good of the game. You care about the integrity of the game when it's not United. Or when it's not time to call shit out. How about caring about the integrity of the game when you're seeing 115 fucking charges being labelled at a football club that are dominating English football and winning everything, and you haven't got the backbone to use your powerful position to speak about it? How about that? It's okay the odd sly little tweet at Carragher or whatever comes out with on social media, but how about actually having the balls to say what the rest of us are thinking? Because you're supposed to be our people on there. You're supposed to be our representatives, pundits, professionals with opinions. Not a backbone between them. It's sickening. It is sickening. And also, it's not like these 115 charges are just now brought. They've already been found guilty. This is the appeal. So let's not make out like nothing's been decided. They've already been fucking found guilty. Now they're appealing and dragging it out. And you and I and everybody else that has to sit there week after week listening to these so-called pundits do no fucking punditry is an embarrassment. Sky should hang their heads in shame. They tried to tell us about living our lives right, what our morals should be, removing racism from the game, removing sexism from the game. How about removing bias, you absolute bunch of fucking twats? I'm sorry, but I'm sick of it. Sick of it. Week after week after week. You know I'm right. See, here's the thing. I know I'm right. You know I'm right. Anyway, I have been asked to go back over the news, and I shall. Sorry. It's hurting me. I'm not going to lie, it hurts me. I've said, how many times do we have to watch it? How many times? Like, football's being destroyed in front of your eyes. Whether it's rule changes that we don't understand, more power being given to officials, Gianni Infantino selling off the World Cup to the highest bidder. Who stands up? And do you know what's really sad? Every single one of you sitting at home right there now want Manchester City to be found guilty, want Manchester City to be charged, but in the back of every single one of our minds, and I include mine, we have this doubt about the actual outcome. We have this doubt that even though the evidence is so one-sided and piled up high, that there will be some way that they'll weasel their way out of it. You know I'm right. Don't think for one second there isn't potential political interference or geopolitical help here. Look in, Google the amount of money that's been invested in green energy in the UK by Abu Dhabi. Google it. Even if you don't think it's connected, just Google it. It's pathetic. My opinion on it all, that Manchester City are just going to keep throwing money at it and money at it and money at it and money at it, and it'll end up with maybe a little slap on the wrist. Because the integrity of the English game isn't for sale. It shouldn't be for sale. But somebody has to make an example out of them. Somebody has to stand up and say, we don't want English football to become just another rich person's plaything. We don't want English football to become a case of whoever has the most money wins. You can argue and say that ship sailed in 1992. Fair enough. But something has to be done, because football is being fucking destroyed. World Cups being cramped together in 3 countries over different continents just so we can go to Saudi Arabia quicker. Qatar having a World Cup that was moved from the summer to the winter because they couldn't deliver on the promises of the temperatures inside the stadiums. And now we have the Manchester City scenario where we all know they're grubby. We all know it. But we've had to sit here for 4, 5, 6 years watching them collect trophies, watching their fucking soulless empty kip of a stadium, watching nobody show up to the parades, watching them go on world tours around and talking about being the greatest club in world football like it's some type of underdog story that everyone should be proud of. Fuck off. It's a disgrace. And football is being destroyed. And I can only speak for myself, but my love of the game every month is being eroded bit by bit by bit. And I feel like there's nothing I can do about it. I feel like I'm helpless. And these people that are supposed to be our protectors, the people who run the Premier League, the people who run the FA, the people who run European and world football, it's a race to the bottom. It's a race to see who can sell their soul the quickest. Prices of stadiums are ridiculous. Prices of football shirts are ridiculous. Prices of TV packages are fucking ridiculous. And we're all being rinsed while they sit there laughing at us. It's a joke. And I know you all care. I know there'll be people laughing at me, and I don't give a shit. I have been around football since I was 5, 6 years of age. I love it. It is my life. And there's nothing we can do about it. We thought we had a little win with the Super League. And it was a beautiful thing, and it restored my faith in fandom and in football. But it feels like those people in power just laugh at us and think, we'll move on. We'll gloss over it. We'll get back around to it. I don't know, lads. Look, maybe I'm an asshole. But it hurts seeing the sport that we love eroded in front of us. Technology was brought in to help us get the right results. Do you feel it's done that? Do you feel like you don't argue with your mates in the pub anymore over the result of a game? Nope. All it's done now is create pseudo-celebrities that are referees. We have to look at Dermot Gallagher, Mike Dean and all these other absolute nobodies on Sky giving opinions, and all they ever did was back up the fucking referees because they're all in the same cartel. And all it does is create more content, drives more argument, drives more hatred. Talk sport flourishes. All this shit is disgusting. All these people with their stupid opinions that say shit just to get clicks. Rory Jennings should have no place in football content because he's a fucking moron. But yet every day he's wheeled out. And Rory seems like a nice enough guy, but his football opinions are dog shit. Togden shouldn't exist. They know fucking nothing about football. Nothing. The only reason they exist is because of this and because the people are stupid enough to share their content. They know nothing. Nothing. You know I'm right. You know I'm right. Anyway, to move on to another topic. Because I can already hear the clicks. I know I'm getting clipped. I know I'm going to have that whole little fanboy circle of Rory Jennings and all talking, and I don't care. They know I'm right. You know I'm right. I know I'm right. They're fucking idiots. Anyway. A slightly more positive bit of information that was posted by Liverpool. For the first time ever in a league, Liverpool's starting 11 consisted of 11 different nationalities, which is truly a beautiful thing. Irish, Northern Irish, French, Dutch, Scottish, English, Japanese, Argentinian, Colombian, Portuguese and Uruguayan. First time it's ever happened. It's a beautiful thing. So a little bit of normal news there. If City aren't charged, I can't watch football anymore. I don't blame you. I don't blame you, because you've probably seen some of the evidence. Some people will have dug a bit deeper, seen more. I don't know, man. It hurts, Jack, doesn't it? Just seeing them week after week, these people get away with it. It's, yeah, it hurts. Oh, and by the way, I don't have anything on a personal level against Rory Jennings or any of these people. But it hurts me as a real football person, and I'm sure you guys, to see these being the voice of fans. These being the voice of fan. They're not the voice of fan content. They're the reason fan content is laughed at. That's what they are. There's so many great accounts and channels out there doing great work, but they say truthful, balanced, articulate things. That's not click-worthy. We're rewarding the wrong type of content. We should be rewarding people who add to fandom, who show it in a better light, who care and aren't just looking out for number one. Look at German football now. That's restoring my faith. You've seen the protests at pretty much every game. I even clipped up for you here something to say. Remote control cars equipped with flares were used as part of a fan protest in Bundesliga 2 game between Rostock and Hamburg. It's that's restoring my faith, because they're speaking out. They're standing up again. We need to do the same as fans, because the refereeing situation in the Premier League is nothing short of a disgrace. And I am for 1 second trying to say like it's a cartel against Liverpool. It's just a bunch of shit officials who get away with constant errors and nobody holds them to account. And it's suffering and it's impacting the league, and I don't know how we save it at this point, but it's a joke. Everton have been punished just to set an example, and City will get away with it, said Abanash. And Everton could be punished again, mate. Everton could be punished again. And I'm not for one sitting here to say Everton haven't done anything wrong. You know, they've been punished and docked 10 points, and there's an appeal coming, and we'll know the result of that probably this week. But you are right. To all the normal people out there like you and I and everybody in this chat, it is a bit soul-destroying to see the low-hanging fruit picked, like Everton or Nottingham Forest, and then see 5.5 years of an investigation into Manchester City, while I sit here and you sit there and we all sit here looking at them collecting trophies. And do you know what's going to happen? The whole aim of this process is to get to the point where we're desensitized to it. That it's dragged on so long that City winning stuff becomes the norm, and then we get tricked into believing that they're now self-sustaining, that they're now doing everything by the book. You can't ignore how they got to that position. You can't ignore how they went from a club that was nowhere near success to all of a sudden this influx of money. Years go by with court cases and appeals and fines and all this other stuff as they drag it out and out and out, and now we all go, but they make a load of money every year because they're winning Champions Leagues and they're winning Premier Leagues. But how did you get there? How did you get to that point? That's the part that we cannot forget, because that's the time game. That's all it's about, is desensitizing us until we all either feel too tired to fight against it anymore, or we just accept it as, oh, well, they are now making money and they are doing this, but they got there. How did they get there? That's what we can't forget. How did they get to the powerful position that they're now in? So, Rohana, fuck you with your clickbait. I've no clickbait. The fact that you showed up late to the stream and I've covered the story 3 times is not my fucking problem. So, if you want to moan at somebody, fuck off and moan at somebody else. I've gone through the story 3 times. I don't do clickbait. I back up every goddamn thing I say with a source and a story. And if you don't know that, that's not my problem. Anyway, I will go back over the news because I'm aware that there were other people who would like me to go back over it. So if you're asking about the title of today's stream, it comes from what I consider to be a very reliable person in Steve Hoare from Redmen, who said, and I'll read it out exactly so as I don't misquote Steve, hearing Núñez is a doubt for the final and Salah is 50-50 for Wednesday. He had cramps and fatigue apparently. So that's where we're at with that. As I said, I've nothing but respect for Steve. And if Steve says that, I genuinely believe that's information he's been given because he's not a liar. So that's what the title's about. So maybe you can take your clickbait and fucking stick it. Because you don't clearly know what clickbait is, you twat. Why do we always get serious injuries to our players? Look, you'll hear different theories on it. Some people will say Jurgen works them too hard in pre-season. Some people think it's the style of football we play. I don't know, but we do rotate. I mean, there was a great stat somebody shared with us yesterday. I'll try and find it again. Bear with me. Just want to get... I like to credit people for their stuff, so I'm just trying to find this stat. Sorry, folks, bear with me. Nope, can't find it. But basically, the stat was that Liverpool haven't picked the same 11 twice in 30-something games this season. We've rotated and changed every single game because of either injuries or tactical reasons, but we've not put out the same team twice in a row, which is crazy if you think about it. Another bit of information, this time from a gentleman by the name of Josh Williams. If you want to give him a follow on social media on X, he's at Distance Covered. This is really interesting, actually. He said Manchester United just faced 20 shots in a Premier League game, for the 8th time this season. So just to go back over that, Manchester United have faced 20 shots in a Premier League game for the 8th time this season. Liverpool have just faced 20 shots twice since Jurgen Klopp was appointed in 2015. So United, 20 shots for the 8th time this season. Liverpool have only faced 20 shots twice since 2015. That's some statistic there from Josh, and very interesting indeed. I think I missed some comments, by the way, and if I did miss a super chat, let me scroll, try and find it. If City are in charge, I can't watch football anymore, said Josh, I think it was it? Jack, sorry, Jack. I don't know, Siri, I don't know. In the late 70s, early 80s, 11, same all the time. Big hug to you, Craig. I feel your pain and anger. Thank you. Because I know I'll be laughed at for my little rant today, but honestly, it's something I'm sitting on for a while. Like, it's tough. John Barnes actually has said something that I wanted to get your opinion on. He was speaking about Arsenal, and this is what John Barnes had to say. When you're coming to the end of February and March, it's all about can you get a result. Manchester City are all conquering, all dominant, and in that respect, Liverpool for me are the closest challengers because there's certain games where Liverpool haven't played well but get a result. Arsenal have to play well to win, and if they don't play well, they may not win. And that's is why, as much as they're doing well now, I still think it's between Manchester City and Liverpool. Liverpool winning today is going to put the pressure on. City will handle the pressure. City won't get nervous that Liverpool are getting away from them because they played such an incredible team. Liverpool playing first will affect Arsenal but not Manchester City. Now, turns out John was a little bit wrong about the latter part because Arsenal absolutely trounced their opponents and Manchester City drew 1-1 with Chelsea. But I brought it up not to knock John Barnes, but because I wanted to know your thoughts on it. Do you think that Arsenal are a team that has to play well to grind out victories and that it will come down to Liverpool or Manchester City? Because I do agree with what John had to say. I think, look, it sounds weird because Arsenal beat us and they deserve to beat us. I have no qualms about that, but I still think they'll finish a little way behind. I think if I'm to predict it, they'll lose at the Etihad and then they'll drop a couple more points. But if they can go to the Etihad and get a win, I'll put my hands up and say they are genuine bona fide title contenders. But I still feel like, I think John hit it on the head. You know, everything has to go right for them. They have to be at their best to grind out wins. And they're impressive when they do it, you know. Was it 11 goals or something scored in the last 2 games? But can they do it in a tough, competitive environment? Because you see, they celebrated beating us like they'd won the league. Now look, they've every right to celebrate beating us. But I don't know if they'll grind it out. I'm interested to see. I hope it is, because for the good of the league, it would be good to have 3 teams challenging. And it, I guess, decreases the chances of Manchester City receiving another pat on the back for 4 league titles in a row that nobody's ever done before. What happened to Darwin? So, I don't know the extent of what the injury is, but again, the report from Steve Hoare has said that he heard Darwin could be a doubt for the final. Doesn't talk about Wednesday, and if he doesn't talk about Wednesday, I feel like, is it a gimme that he's not going to be available for Wednesday? And then we asked at the very start of the stream, and I'm going to go back now and look at the result. We said, which is more important, Wednesday or the League Cup final? And we've had 2,270 votes, and 53% think that the game on Wednesday against Luton is more important than the League Cup final, which I guess doesn't surprise me, but I thought it would be slightly more towards the League Cup final. I agree. I think Wednesday's the bigger game. Arsenal looks like a contender right now. It'll be a battle for sure, said Icelandish. Look, they deserve the respect, mate. I'm certainly not trying to knock Arsenal. I still don't think they're going to be there at the end, as close as they should be. Did you hear the news in Sky Sports 30 minutes ago? It said Thomas Tuchel to remain as the coach of Bayern. Yeah, somebody mentioned it or shared it to me in the chat, actually. It was Mark. Thank you, Mark. Mark sent me in the from transfer deadline day to say Bayern will not sack Thomas Tuchel and he will not resign. Do you know what I'd like to have heard? Let's hear them come out with the same thing to say Thomas Tuchel will be there next season. Because I think the truth of the detail there is in what they're not saying. Maybe they don't have a manager that can come in right now. Because let's think of it this way. If you're Bayern and you want Alonso, well, you're not going to sack Tuchel now and then go looking for Alonso. You're going to wait, let Tuchel do his job so you don't have to pay him off till the summer. Sack him then, and then start going after the manager like Alonso or a Mourinho or whomever. But I'd be very, very, very surprised to see Tuchel there at the end of June. Chelsea be a harder opponent than Luton. Playing with 3 fringe players against Luton, we should still win. You say should, Marco, but there's no getting it back if you don't. That's the problem, bud. You are right, of course, in what you're saying, but there's also the talk of a potential knock-on. So let's say we don't get a win against Luton and we end up in a frustrating 1-1 draw. you can see very quickly then how the conversation goes towards the weekend and the pile-on that'll come from the media and opposition fans, and it becomes a more pressurised situation. I'd say get the points on the board on Wednesday and then assess who we have fit and available for the League Cup final on the Sunday. Because defensively, let's say we've got Bradley, Canade, Verge, Robbo, Kelleher in goal. You're going to have a balanced midfield of McAllister, Endo, or whatever. I think I'd fancy us to at least drag it to extra time, no matter what 11 we put out in the League Cup final. And then you never know. I just don't see the upside of going weak on Wednesday. I think it's important that we continue the momentum, because as legs get tired, injuries continue to increase and pile up. The positivity from positive results and the energy that will hopefully give to the boys could be important. What do you think about getting both Leverkusen manager and assistant director in the summer? Well, there was a report from Footy Insider that said Liverpool are plotting to bring Leverkusen manager and sporting director Simon Rolfs to the club in a sensational double swoop. I don't know if it's true or not, but I have said this for quite a bit. I think we'll get a great clue who the manager is going to be by the next sporting director. So if it's Simon Rolfs, if it's Tim Steiten, I think that's a great indication the club feel they can get Alonso in. That's my take. Also, I want to get your opinion on, do you think De Zerbi is going to be the next Barcelona manager? I'm only asking because I'm trying to sort of, I guess, remove potential candidates from my brain for the Liverpool job, and I don't really feel comfortable with De Zerbi taking the Liverpool job. So when I'd seen the news that he was the favourite to succeed Xavi Hernandez at Barcelona, I wondered. If Dominic Szoboszlai keeps getting hamstring injuries, we should get rid. I mean, totally get where you're coming from, but he's still really young. What is he, 21, 22 now, Szoboszlai? And I don't know if this is the same injury that never got a chance to fully heal up, and maybe, I don't want to say the club forced him back, because I don't buy into that. I think ultimately it'll come down to the player having the final nod if there's any 50-50 decisions. And usually players they want to support their teammates, they want to play, so they'll probably try to put their bodies on the line a bit more. So I don't know if maybe we need to be a bit more conservative with that regard. I'd be guessing. How strong should we go against Southampton? Probably start with a fairly mixed team and then look if we need to do it from the bench, if the mixed youthful team isn't doing it. Initially my brain says it's the attacking part that we may struggle to fill out the places of if you're looking to rest up some people. But I think Mo should be fully back by that point, so I think Mo plays, and then you've still got Diaz and Gakpo as options, Kumas as an option, Cade Gordon perhaps as an option. I guess Elliott could play on the right hand side of attack if needs be again. I think, look, you want to win every game, but it's also a championship team at home in the FA Cup. So, yeah, I think mixed is the answer, probably. Is the FA Cup game against the Saints home or away? It's at Anfield, Andre. It's at Anfield. Curtis Jones is the most improved player in Liverpool this season. What's your take? One of. I think I would argue Bradley is the most improved, but certainly Curtis Jones has removed any doubt about whether he deserves to be in the Liverpool first team squad or not, for me. And I would have been somebody who 18 months ago would have said sell him for whatever we can get. And I'm very wrong. Happy to put my hands up, like I've said before, and full credit to him and the club, because look at Curtis Jones now. I mean, some people still have some doubts about him, but I think he's one of the first names down in that midfield team sheet at the minute. That left side of midfield, in my opinion, is Curtis Jones' position. Record in Portugal said Jota could be out for 2 months, said Sandra. Or Sandara, excuse me. No, said, my apologies. Sardara said record in Portugal said Jota could be out for 2 months. Now, that would sort of tally with numbers that I've seen mentioned elsewhere. But until we get confirmation from the club, I don't want to be that guy that says it's going to be 2 months or whatever. At a guess, I'd be happy with 2 months based off what my fears are. But I don't know. Oh yeah, 2 months is definitely a long time, Lisa, 100%, mate. But yeah, 2 months in February, March, April. You know, you're a month left of the season at that point. I don't know what that means, Zane. It's not the 12 months I thought it was yesterday. I've no idea. Oh, you mean the injury. Sorry. I didn't know what to expect, Zane, yesterday. Initially, I thought he was going to get up and walk it off. Then, when the stretcher came, I thought, oh shit, this is going to be much worse than I believed. And then when I seen him kind of walking but hobbling when TNT Sport played a bit of video footage, I thought, okay, maybe he's loosened up a little bit. But honestly, I've never suffered an injury on my knee like that, so I don't know. I'll give you an example, actually. Remember when Pickford came out and absolutely assaulted Verge? Well, if you remember, Verge walked off the pitch and I think walked to the tunnel at Goodison. And I thought, oh, he'll be grand. He walked off. Injury, fair enough, he'll be grand. But then he was out with an ACL. So, truth is, I don't know how to read body language in those incidents. But Klopp certainly looked a worried man. Oh, do you not remember I said Fabrizio said it was a year? Yes, sorry, mate. I was confused because that was from another account called Anonymous or something, wasn't it, yesterday? Or something like that. And by the way, just really quickly, I want to say again, thank you for your support. Because I know when I go on these rants, and they are rants, but that's me. I'm a ranty person. And I say stuff from the cuff, from the heart, that there are some people going, oh, this is going to be comical, clip it up and slag me off about it. But I know as well that some of you guys believe what I'm saying is how I genuinely feel and agree. So I want to just thank you again for that, because I don't care about being laughed at. It doesn't matter to me. But I do care about what you think of me, because you're important to me. So the outside noise, I don't give a shit about. But my community, I do. So thank you for your support. And I know I'm not always right, and I know I'm over the top at times, but it makes my blood boil what's going on in football sometimes. And when I feel like we're being hard done by as the football public or as fans, or we're being taken for idiots, I don't like to see it. I don't like to see football fans that travel to games being treated like criminals and how they're frog marched to stadiums. I don't like seeing football fans spoken down to like we don't understand basic finances, or like we can't see the wool being pulled over our eyes. I don't like football fans being manipulated by certain aspects of the media into feeling a certain way, and it's a clear narrative and a clear consensus to try and get an opinion. I just don't like it. I don't like us being taken for idiots. I guess Klopp hopes the final is decided in 90 minutes given the situation. If I was a betting man, and I am, you'd probably say penalties again and we win in the final. But God, I don't know if the heart could go through that. I'm a bit more nervous about Chelsea at the moment than I was maybe 2 weeks ago, because until Manchester City really came back into the last 30 minutes or so of that game, Chelsea were picking them off and they were impressive. And and there was some poor decision making from the likes of Jackson and a few other incorrect decisions that stopped City being 2-3-0 down at that point. So it feels like Pochettino is starting to get some type of consistency there, but I want to be the one to break that consistency. And I feel like with Chelsea, as soon as they feel the pressure, they'll crumble. I don't think they're mentally strong enough yet. When things are on their side and they're playing well, yes, but in another world, they could have lost that game yesterday with a late penalty. So we need to be quick from the start, and hopefully, if we score the first goal in the final, I think we win it. Is Salah injured? Cramps, Martin, is the worry. So it was reported that Mohamed Salah had cramps after the game and that he's 50-50 for, wasn't it Wednesday, Steve said? I want to make sure it was Wednesday, Steve said. Hearing Nunez is a doubt for the final, Salah's 50-50 for Wednesday. Which isn't the worst thing in the world, like, don't get me wrong, but I guess the problem there is if Salah's cramping and it's 50-50 and you play him, what happens if those cramps strain again? But yeah, I certainly wouldn't be overly concerned that Salah's going to be out injured for a while or anything. No, but he is feeling something after coming back from not playing for a month or whatever it was. Endo's the bargain of the season. It's great to say that, isn't it? I don't know if he's the bargain of the season, but he's certainly doing what we hoped he would do, what Jurgen and George Schmack and those who recruited him thought he was going to do. I love him. You know, I love him for stupid little things like how zoned in he always looks, or when he puts the gum shield in. It just makes me feel like the dude's there for business. I love him so much. Honestly, I'm glad it's working out for him, because as soon as I heard he wanted to move to the Premier League for all of his career, and you know, you hear and you read the stuff from the Stuttgart side and their fans and their teammates, and everybody was rooting for Endo. And now, yeah, it's great. Couldn't imagine not having Endo in the group. And it's great to see that there's a potential for him and McAllister to both play, because I was concerned, particularly with the Burnley game, I think it was, that didn't look too balanced. But against Brentford, incredible. Both of them were absolute warriors out there, and yeah, hunting in packs. And I love that Alexis got a bit more forward, got his goal, great assist from Mo as well. It's great to see. Yeah, it's great to see. I love the two of them. Endo gives his all for the club. Yeah, you really feel like he cares, don't you? When Endo's out on the pitch, he's not faking it. You can tell the dude wants to do well. And I've all the time in the world for people like that. Gum shield equals bring it on. 100%. 100%. I love it. I love watching them put the gum shield in and out. I don't think Endo will be good in big games against City or Tottenham. I think he's too slow. I disagree. What I would say is, was it Katie that he did speak about the way Klopp asks him to play is 10 or 15 yards even further forward again than how he played at Stuttgart, where his job was to almost split the centre backs and become a sweeper almost in the midfield. Whereas the way we play him, the way Jurgen likes to condense the pitch with pressing, he's 10, 15 yards higher up. And sometimes he's winning the ball or trying to win the ball on the halfway line, that far advanced. Which I think he's started to get up to speed with now. And I think against teams like Manchester City, I actually think he'll even come on another level and be better. But I don't know if I would have said that a month into his Liverpool career. Let's go for 1,000 likes 3 nights in a row. What are we at? Well, we need 393 to do it in 19 minutes. Can we do that? I don't know. We'll give it a go. So if you haven't hit the like button, please do. I'm feeling like I've missed something else here. I've done that. Oh, hang on. What was this? Oh, I've got a question for you. So I had my little rant earlier on, right, about referees and the impact that they're having and the influence that they're having. I read something last night that only increased my concern. So Nottingham Forest have appointed Mark Clattenburg as a referee analyst, and Nuno Espirito Santo wants him to explain the decisions going against his side. It goes on to say he attended the 2-0 victory over West Ham on Saturday and saw VAR opt against advising Thomas Bramall to take a second look at Maxwell Cornet's challenge on Nico Williams in the penalty area. Now, my concern is this feels like a slippery slope to me. It could absolutely, and I'm sure it is, be above board, but my brain went, didn't Barca pay for some advice from a former referee chief, and it ended up, well, in court? So my concern is, are we going to get a situation where if former referees like Clattenburg or anybody else are brought into football clubs to explain decisions, are they then going to lean on former friendships for information that may or may not be attainable to everybody else, is probably the best way I can say it. I feel like it's open for potential manipulation. Not saying anybody has that intent, not making accusations against Forrest or Clattenburg, but I'd rather we just didn't need this like football people, players, coaches shouldn't need referees to explain to them why decisions are happening. It should be clear. It's a foul. This wasn't happened. I don't know how I feel it's a bit weird. Feels a bit grubby to me. Be a shame if Jota's out for the season. He's worked so hard, said Jack. Absolutely. Incredible shame if he is. And hopefully we get good news on it. But until we do, I guess we're going to just have to keep everything fingers and toes crossed. Conflict of interest at Colin Brooks. I've said it many times. Money talks and BS walks. At George Craig, I've been watching you since you won the league when Willian scored against City to win us league. Amazing how far you've come. Thank you, Ishmael. We have come, bro. Because I don't go anywhere, come anywhere, become anything without your support and you sticking with us, mate. So when you talk about anything like that, please use the term we, because that's certainly how I think of it. Is Núñez injured? He isn't, Adam, but he is a concern for the final. So again, just to read over exactly what was said, because I don't want to misquote anybody. Hearing Núñez is a doubt for the final and Salah's 50-50 for Wednesday. It says he had cramps and fatigue. And look, as I said, this comes from Steve Hoare, who is somebody that's part of Redmen TV, but is a really good lad. And if he says he heard that, I truly believe he heard that. Because he's not a bullshitter. I've immense respect for Steve. And yeah, if that's what he's hearing, then, you know, it would be an incredible shame if Núñez is out for the final or a doubt for the final, especially after hearing Jurgen say that they took him off for the precaution. Hopefully it isn't something that keeps him out. But on Salah, it's just cramps, so it's just more, I guess, the reaction to coming back to playing competitive football again. Ideally, I'd say the club probably would have liked to have only brought Salah on 60, 65. But obviously you had to bring him on beforehand. So maybe that was the concern there. Craig, what's your opinion of Jamie Carragher? Overall, I like Jamie Carragher. I think he made a mistake with the spitting thing. He knows that. He doesn't need me to say that. But I feel like he's a good person overall. I feel like sometimes I feel like he nearly overcompensates for not wanting to seem favourable for Liverpool. I certainly don't think he goes anywhere near as far for our side as Neville does for the United side. I think he's a great analyst of the game. Same goes for Gary Neville, even though I ranted about his opinions for United earlier on. When they remove bias and just break down football, I think they're both incredible pundits. Loved Cara as a player, loved Champions League final. I'll always remember for him cramping and getting up like a warrior and battling. And look, I'll disagree with him on things, same as everybody else, but I have a lot of respect for Jamie Carragher. Yeah, just do. And I like that he's good fun as well. You know, I've seen him at Boss Nights gigs and stuff, singing along and up on stage and stuff. I think he's a good sport overall. And he made a mistake. He owned his mistake, but I like him. Kel, Gomez, Kwanzaa, Elliott, Gravenberch, McConnell, Diaz, Cody, I think is Fantasy Bengal's team. Is that for the final or for Wednesday? I'm going to quickly try and have a go at a team on Wednesday. Kelleher, Bradley, Kwanzaa, Van Dijk, Gomez. The reason I say that is I want to rest Robbo for the final, and I think Joe can do just as good a job at left back against Luton. Midfield, Endo, McAllister. This is where it gets tricky. Gravenberch. I'd rest Salah and try Elliott on the right, Gakpo on the left, Diaz on the left and Gakpo to the middle. That's my attempt at an 11 for Wednesday. Upamecano picked up another red today. I know, that's 2 in a week. It's mad, isn't it? Gets sent off against Lazio and then against Bochum today. And they're in trouble at the minute, Bayern. No, Ibu. No, I'd rest them. I'd rest Ibu because I'm trying to think of players who, when sometimes they get played in short periods of time in large numbers, pick up muscle strains. And Ibu's one at the back of my mind that I think if there's a chance to rotate him, and look, Kwanzaa, in my opinion, is an able deputy. That's why I'd put him in alongside Van Dijk and Gomez at left back to rest Robbo. But look, they're all great. I'm just trying to figure out a way to, I guess, understand that we have a depleted squad at the minute and try to keep everybody fresh enough. Rachel, thank you, Rachel, again for gifting a membership to Adam. You're very kind. Jens, how are you? Said, what a weekend for you guys. I think you'll win the league now, but top team should beat Luton Town comfortably. Well then, you didn't beat them comfortably, bro. Let's be honest. It was a bit life and death there, but also happy birthday to your dad. Again, I remember you said it was your dad's birthday coming up soon, so lots of love from all of us, and I hope you're well. We owe Luton one, mate. You know, we went life and death with McKenna-Wood Road ourselves and only came out with a draw, so we certainly I hope that you took a lot out of them in that game today, because they really pushed hard to get back into that. So I'm hoping that they're worn out a little bit when we play them on Wednesday. Pranav said Jota out for 2 months according to Portuguese media. Somebody did mention that earlier on. All right, I think Record, the Portuguese outlet, I think our friend said earlier on, was reporting 2 months. I mean, 2 months now is very damaging, because, you know, he's going to miss, I think, the United game, the City game. I'm not sure when the Spurs game is off the top of my head, but you're getting into the point of the semi-finals of the Europa League final, that kind of part. So, yeah, look, it could have been worse if this is the case. You know, initially, if it was an ACL or anything, you could have been looking at a lot longer. So I feel for Diogo, though, because he's been in unbelievable form this season. Like, we call him the assassin for a reason. The man is he's a goal scorer. How are you today, Craig? I'm how am I? I'm a little bit concerned that my rant earlier on is going to be used as a stick to beat me with again, but I guess I was being honest, so I don't take any of it back. Other than that, I'm good. Thank you. I'm a bit tired because I did 8 hours and 20 minutes worth of content yesterday, but I loved every minute of it. Still not up to 100% health, mate. You know, still a lot of mucus on my chest and stuff, but I'm not going to complain. Gravenberch needs to play it simpler. He played good on Saturday, but keeps trying to dribble through 3 or 4 players. Yeah, it's he's a bit of a weird one, Ryan Gravenberch, because sometimes you look at him and you think, world beater, unbelievable. As you said, dribbles past people for fun. Other times I think he overcomplicates it, but he's 21 and, you know, hasn't had a full pre-season properly. Didn't play a lot of football over the last 18 months and is moved to a new league. I think he's doing okay. I'm definitely not giving up on him, nor am I suggesting you are, but you know, when I seen the stats from the game on Saturday, I have to say it challenged my perception of what I'd seen with my own eyes, and I hadn't given him enough credit from what I'd seen versus the stats from it. So I know it's a bit of a long-winded answer, but I think be patient with him. He'll get there. Is there any update on any of our injuries? Nothing concrete, Owen. No, nothing. Now, as the chat has said, there's reports coming from Portugal. The Jota's 2 months. This says from Anfield sector, Diogo Jota has avoided a serious knee injury but will be out for around 2 months. The Curtis Jones thing, I've personally not seen anything on yet, so I don't want to guess on it. We've already covered the Mohamed Salah and Darwin stuff. Yeah, other than that, Matip out, Bajcetic out, Thiago out, Trent out, Szoboszlai out, Alisson out. Again, no confirmed time frame on Alisson yet either. 763 likes. We only need 237 to get to another 1,000 streams. So we've 7 minutes to go. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. If you've liked the stream, of course. What happened with Salah and Núñez? So report is that having... Excuse me, I'm going to read that again. Hearing Núñez is a doubt for the final and Salah's 50-50 for Wednesday. He had cramps and fatigue, apparently, is what Steve Hoare said regarding Salah. And like I've mentioned, I don't bring up this to say anything derogatory about Steve. I like Steve. And if he's saying that, I truly believe that's what he's been told. So we're going to have to wait and see. I'm more concerned about Darwin for the final because, okay, if Salah's 50-50 for Wednesday, that means it's just the cramps, you know, and he just needs a bit more rest and recuperation. So that should be fine. But it's the Darwin one that kind of concerns me. Because if he's a doubt for the final, instinctively you think, well, he's definitely out for Wednesday. So if he's a doubt for Sunday, he's got to be out Wednesday. So that's potentially 2 big games. And if he is out for both, or even one, then you start thinking, what way does our attack look? Because we've got no Jota then, maybe a no Salah, and a definitely no Núñez. Then you're left with Gakpo and Diaz. And who else? Gordon, Elliott. Who do you play on the right? Rachel said, just saw a post on X that Curtis tore muscles higher up his ankle. It will certainly tally with the area that looked like he was in pain. He left in a protective boot, I think, or certainly on crutches after the game. I hope it's nothing too serious because we need Curtis Jones fit and playing as soon as possible. So hopefully muscles is better than ligaments. Right, we've got 175 to go in 5 minutes. I think we can do it. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. Craig, if Kelleher's injured and you're sick, who do we play at goalkeeper? It's a good question. I don't want to say the word. I don't want to say his name. I'd rather Taffarel when in goal, to be honest with you. No, don't even write his name. No, don't say it. Don't say it. Just put Taffarel in goal or Achterberg or something. Or get Pitaluga back from St. Pat's. Or Yaros. It's crazy when you think Jota nearly didn't score for a year. Did he? Mate, I'm shocked about remembering stuff like that. Wow. But I tell you what, he's been on fire this season, hasn't he? Think we need a striker badly. Nunes better left wing, I think, said Jack. I don't know, man. I love Nunes. I love him. I love that he scored that goal the way he scored. I know Michael Owen talked about statistically being better doing it X way or Y or whatever, but God, I didn't fucking half love that goal. And I love the mercurial talent that he is. Like, most people be like, right, let's play the the numbers game here, and potentially I should go around the keeper. Nah, fuck that. Just dink it over him from the edge of the box like an absolute champ. That's my Darwin. That's my striker. I loved it. I loved every second of it. I love that goal. That's one of my favourite goals this season, because Jota was a genius with his backwards header. And then Darwin's just like, I could go around the keeper and tap it into the open net, or I could dink it over him like a boss. And he went for the dink it over him, and it was sexy as. Great goal. Alalusa said, I support Nunes since day one, but never thought he'd score that. I never thought he'd try that in that moment. I did feel 1-on-1 through on goal. I thought he'd go around the keeper and score it. But yeah, to have the nuts to do it like he did. And look, they're great when they come off, aren't they? Nunes is pure chaos. Love watching him. So do I, Rachel. I love him. And look, of course, there are times where I'm not going to say we hate him, but we hate the outcome of certain things, and it can be frustrating. But love him, hate him. You can't argue about his importance in a game of football and the impact he has on a football pitch to those around him. He's a menace, and I mean that in a good way. For everyone coming in asking, is Salah injured again? No to the injury, but he is a concern for Wednesday with cramps after returning from injury. So if I was to guess at it, I think ideally Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool wouldn't have brought him on as early as they did. But with the injuries the way they did, the club had to make a change, and Salah probably came on earlier, and this is why the cramps are probably there. So yes, concern for Wednesday, but no new injury concern to have to worry about. 90 likes to go. Can we do it? Darwin makes football fun. Yeah, he does. And I didn't think, when Bobby left, I thought, well, there goes the little bit of, not craziness, but flamboyance. That's the word. Because I loved me some Bobby Firmino. One-eyed celebrations, karate kicks, all the stuff that made Bobby Firmino fun. And then in comes Mr. Darwin Núñez, and that lovely little spark is back again. And I love a crazy maverick, and I love Darwin. Craig, I don't think we'll be able to handle all these injuries. Well, I guess if there is an upside, Katie, it's that none of them seem incredibly long-term things, but niggly short ones are still a pain in the backside. But, you know, at least Trent, Alisson, Szoboszlai, they look like they're weeks. So yeah, they're not great, but it's just frustration at this point rather than anger or anything for me. You know, it's just like everything that can go wrong at the moment is going wrong, but we're still finding a way to get over the line and get wins. And I mean, that's to the immense credit of the belief from the players and the manager. Do we have any news on Darwin's injury? Zero. No. I don't even know exactly what the pain was that Klopp spoke about, or the niggle, but yeah, I don't know. The good news, though, that I want to just finish with to make sure everybody doesn't think we're ending or we're talking all negatives tonight. Anything Liverpool, which, by the way, if you don't give Carl and Anything Liverpool a follow and you're on Twitter, come on now, give him a follow. He's a great account, at Anything LFC _. Brilliant account. They have quoted Footy Insider and said, news, Liverpool are plotting to bring Bayer Leverkusen manager Xabi Alonso and sporting director Simon Rolfs to the club in a sensational double swoop. Now that would be a nice bit of news if that was confirmed, wouldn't it? You know, even if we get the confirmation of a sporting director like Simon Rolfs or Tim Steidten or somebody who's worked with Alonso previously, I think that gives us a great indication of where the club are aiming for. 33 more likes to go, my friends. That's all we need. Ben Doak news. Lynn, I've got nothing on Ben Doak. Mate, honest, I've tried to figure it out, find it out, read up on it. I've got nothing. It's weird though, isn't it? Because sometimes with the club you get great information. Other times, like Bajcetic, as an example, every time I try to read up on Bajcetic, all I get is multiple injury concerns. I can't even find definitive answers of exactly what it is. Some people think it's a growing issue. Some people think it's a bone problem. I don't know. But I know it's a terrible disappointment for everybody, him concerned after the incredible season he had breaking through last season. We expected him to be almost a mainstay this season. And we haven't had a chance to see him yet. So for him, I hope it's a minor thing. But with Doak, no idea. There's a report, Stefan ages February. There was a report on Stefan ages ago, end of February, was what they were saying. Well, he has been back at the AXA training facility. You've probably seen those pictures this week. So, you know, there is an upside to it. By the way, I want to stay on for a bit longer if that's all right. So feel free, by the way, if you're bored of me to head off. But I'm going to stay on and answer some more questions and chat for a while because, yeah, I feel like I don't want to have the ranty stream and people remember for that. I want to just have some fun with you guys before the evening's over. Who'll be fit for the final? Hopefully Salah. Hopefully, like, I mean, even if Nunes isn't fit, if Salah's fit, you'd go Salah, Diaz, and I guess Gakpo through the middle. What we can't afford, I feel, at this point is another injury to an important part of the field. Like, midfield is already starting to look a little bit light, even though if you list off the amount of midfielders we have at the club, we should have loads. But right now, we've got, realistically, Elliott, Waturo, McAllister, Jones out, Bajcetic out, Thiago out. Maybe Gakpo if you want to conclude him as a midfielder. Gravenberch, that's it, off the top of my head. So you've got probably 4 fit midfielders for 3 positions, and you've got to rotate, and 2 of them are probably more defensively minded midfielders. Well, Trent is out for the minute, Kangol, so we can't even include him as an option because we don't, again, know what the extent of Trent's prognosis is. We don't know. Would I ever do any vlogs? In what regard, Matthew? I don't know. I don't go anywhere to do a vlog, mate, really. We'll do something for Boston, by the way. Oh, and if you haven't yet and you fancy coming, don't forget, Boston, 22nd of March. 4 weeks from next Friday, we'll be in Boston. Tickets are on sale on Ticketmaster. And we will be vlogging that trip. So if you want to come see us, we'd love to see you that night. It's a Friday night as well. And tickets are on sale Ticketmaster. I have a really good feeling about young Bobby Clark. I think he could be a proper start. I think Bobby Clark, McConnell have had great seasons and are seemingly first team players at this point. Certainly McConnell was in the matchday squad for the game against Brentford. But yeah, Bobby Clark and James McConnell, either of them, when they've both played this season, they've looked good. Who are your top 5 most important Liverpool players at this point? Alisson, Van Dijk, Kanade, Salah, McAllister or Jones would probably be the other one, although I could name more. Endo could easily make that list. But I tried to go through and have a few from each area of the pitch. But Alisson, you think of the spine of the team, right? Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah, and then somebody in central midfielder. Once you've got that strong spine right the way through. And we're lucky. I mean, a lot of our backup players are top notch. Like, look at our centre-back collection. Gomez, Kwanzaa, Van Dijk, Kanade, Matip. If all of them are fit, I genuinely don't give a shit who plays because they're all great. With our forward line as well, you look at the 5 forwards that we have and you'd struggle to see a club with a greater strength and depth in attacking positions than Jota, Salah, Darwin, Gakpo, Diaz. And then you go to midfield and you could do it again. I'm really, really, really happy with the squad we have. Whitehammer said, info on Jota 2 months out, avoids more serious. Yeah, that's what has been mentioned a couple of times, mate. I think that report stems from Portugal. And look, 2 months out isn't the end of the world. It's not great, but, you know, at least he'll be back this season. Craig Gomez can play right back, Bradley right wing if needed. Yeah, potentially. But I think with Bradley at right back, you get the right wing input, if you get me. He's not like Trent, who will drift inside in the system. He will get up and down that right flank all day. You could go to Dublin for the Europa League final and vlog that. No, I want to be here with you guys for that, or doing an event with you guys for that. I've already said I don't say I don't want a ticket to the final, but I've already let it be known I don't want to be considered for a ticket from people that can get me one. Because I want to be with you guys for the final if we get there, or doing a watch along together in Dublin at a venue or something. I'm not going to abandon and run to the Europa League final. The channel's my focus, my priority. So, yeah. Probably could get a ticket, not going to lie to you, but I want to be with you guys. Can you give me a quick update on the injuries? So what I can say to you is there's doubt about Núñez for the final. There's concern about Salah for Wednesday, but no longer term. It's just some cramps. Jota reports in Portugal seem to be 2 months. Nothing on Jones. Not seen a confirmed time frame from Alisson. Some people said 4 to 6 weeks. Trent, I'm none the wiser on whether that's going to be a week, 2 weeks, or whatever. Bajcetic has been back at the training facility this week, but I don't know. Somebody else said end of February was mentioned. Thiago, I don't know if he's back this season or not. Matip, obviously we know is out for the season. I don't think I've forgotten anybody. But that's all I know at this moment. Can you get me a ticket? I probably could, but you'd pay for it. The reason I could get a ticket is commercial partnerships that we have, and calling in favours, basically. What lineup would you want for the final next week? Okay, so I'm going to be optimistic and presume Salah and Darwin are available. So what lineup would I put in for the final? Kelleher, Bradley, Kanade, Verge, Robbo. Endo, McAllister, Elliott, Salah, Darwin, Diaz. That would be my 11. I think Klopp would probably put Gravenberch in instead of Elliott, but that would be my preference. If injuries keep players out for longer, do you think we can manage the Europa League and the Premier League? Yes, I do. We've been a little bit fortunate in that obviously we have this bye, if you want to call it that, through the playoff round of the Europa League. FA Cup, you're at home against a championship team. You'd hope you can mix up your team there. And they're not long-term injuries outside of potentially Jota now at 2 months. So yeah, there's a lot of niggly things that are a few weeks here or there. But the stat that's damning to me is that we haven't played the same team twice in a row this season. In whatever it is, 36 games we've played all in or something. That's crazy. Katie said, according to reports, Jones is out for 3 months. Where are the reports, if you don't mind me asking, Katie? Yeah, just so I can zone in on them myself. One question that I'm confused about is Salah leaving this season. I just heard. I just need confirmation. I don't know the answer, mate. I can give you my own gut feeling on it, but I don't have a definitive answer for you. And anyone who tells you they do, I'd question. So, do I think Salah leaves this summer? Yes. My personal opinion is he leaves. Mark Lawrence went as far as to say 100% he thinks Salah leaves in the summer. The reason I think he leaves is because I don't think FSG are going to play ball with the money that he'd want. And with Klopp not being here now, I feel like that only strengthens their position of pushing back against giving him a contract. I would give him a contract myself for 2 more years, but I wouldn't give him a pay increase. So what that means is, I guess, he has a question of what he feels is the right thing to do. Does he feel that he's not being appreciated by not being given enough of a pay increase for his stature at the club, and that be a catalyst for him to go elsewhere? I don't know. Will PSG come a knocking with Mbappe leaving? I fear they might, but is that appealing to Mohamed Salah? It'll be Champions League football, but you ain't winning it. Does he want to go to Saudi? It would be a financial thing, because he's too good for the league at the minute. So yeah, I don't know, mate. It's I hope it's a 3-year 2-year extra on top of the one he has left would be my hope. But every week that goes by where you don't hear of these negotiations, as I keep saying, and I've said it for months, his hand strengthens. Don't know. Quiet could be a good thing. You don't see Rami Abbasisa tweeting about it or talking about a lack of respect or whatever. So your guess is as good as mine. Did you hear our starting 11 against Brentford was the first with 11 different nationalities? Yes, touched on it earlier on. Just to go through those nationalities for you, it was Ireland, Northern Ireland, France, Netherlands, Scotland, England, Japan, Uruguay, Colombia, Portugal, and Argentina. So yeah, it's extraordinary to think that that's the first time that's ever happened, but there you go. Did you see Steve McArooney singing Ireland's Call? I didn't see it, but I heard the young man played a blinder. He was the kid from the Late Late Toy Show or something, right? Didn't see it, but yeah, everything I read about him singing it was positive. And Connor had seen it, and he said Connor was actually there, and he said it was brilliant. Sorry, just trying to read up on something here on Curtis Jones real quick. So Anything Liverpool said, at Physio Scout believes if Curtis Jones' injury is a high ankle sprain, could be out for 6 to 10 weeks. Again, though, these are just hypotheticals, so we don't know, is the honest answer. Have you kept your broccoli journey? I don't have a broccoli journey, but I did promise to eat some if we win the league. I can't promise I won't vomit, but I will eat it on camera, as promised. Can I speak Irish? Couple of fuckle, which means a few words. No, I couldn't hold a conversation in Irish. I have basic levels of comprehension of the Irish language. Hey Jason, how are you, mate? He said, any news on Doak? No, not that I've seen at all. Weirdly, we were only talking about it earlier, Jason. It's been quiet on Doak, but I wish I had more info to hand. Because, do you know what? I'm going to be honest as well, Jason. I feel, not that you write off a youngster, I'm not trying to do it, but I don't think Ben Doak took the opportunities he had this season in the Europa League and that. I expected a little bit more from him. Then maybe he was carrying something and that was part of the reason. But yeah, no, haven't heard that, unfortunately. Do I understand it? Some of it. Irish, you mean? I take it saying yes. Some of it. Certainly wouldn't be able to hold a conversation. No, I wouldn't say I could even comprehend hearing somebody speak a couple of paragraphs. I might get the gist of what they're saying, but I'd probably have a better chance of French or German than Irish. But that's on me, to be honest. Nothing to do with the language. Breaking Dan Ashworth, Man United. The interesting thing there, Jack, is going to be the gardening leave situation. So if Dan Ashworth indeed does join Manchester United and tells Newcastle he wants to leave, I'd love to know what the gardening leave clause in his contract is, because they're not going to want him to run to United with all the secrets and all the scouting. So they'd probably, I'd imagine, have a 6-month gardening leave, or 3 months maybe in his contract, where he's employed but he's not doing anything for those 3 to 6 months. There's been talk that United might bring in somebody in the meantime to keep them ticking over, but look, it's a time in football where that particular role is in demand. So you've seen Chelsea looking at Paul Jewell's son, actually, as the guy they want to bring in from Brighton. Can't think of his first name, something Jewell, obviously. But then you see Liverpool looking at Tim Steiten, or the guy Rolf from Leverkusen. United, Dan Ashworth. And Newcastle will, of course, need a new sporting director. It's busy times. Lots of jostling for position. Craig, if you get 4 nights of 1,000 likes, can you do a broccoli pizza? No! Because that would ruin a perfectly good pizza. Do they have things like NDAs? I don't know that an NDA could be enforceable in that position, because what you're paying for when you bring in somebody like a Dan Ashworth or a sporting director is the understanding of the market, obviously the knowledge of how the finances and how clubs operates. So I'm sure there will be sensitive things that they can't speak about, i.e. private and confidential information. But let's be honest, if you go in, you're going to lean on the information that you have. Let's be honest about it. We can pretend, but if you're bringing in somebody like that, you're bringing them in for their little black book, their understanding, their relationship with agents, the commercial interests. So I'm sure they have them, but is it enforceable? Nah, not really. I wouldn't think. Not unless you're giving away really, 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 really sensitive stuff. But would they have access to that? I don't know. We have 9 injuries now. They said De Bruyne and Haaland was an injury crisis. Yeah, I know. We talked about this. If you look at this season, how many injuries we've had, it doesn't feel like a time where we haven't had 3 for a while. I don't remember not having at least 3 first team players out injured. But it's not an injury crisis for us. So somebody else is saying, the Mail is reporting that Dan Ashworth has a 2-year gardening leave clause. Is that right? Let me read this. Man United must agree significant compensation fee to release the sporting director from his contract or wait over 2 years for him to join. I'd say they'll pay it. To be fair, you're not waiting 2 years for anyone to join, are you? So I guess United Newcastle might have to come to an agreement there. Do you think we need to be worried about Alonso going to Bayern? No. I think... Okay, this is where the fan part of me comes out. I look at this and think Alonso has a greater emotional connection to Liverpool than Bayern. Add to that, there are more issues behind the scenes at Bayern and more instability than there are at Liverpool. You're coming into a team in Liverpool that God knows what we win this season, but we're on for some stuff. We've refreshed the squad. The fans are on side. The owners are stable. And the only reason the jobs come up is because our manager feels like he needs a break. So there's no drama. So I think, honestly, it's a hugely attractive once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the likes of Alonso. Bayern job will come up again in 3 or 4 years' time. Real Madrid's job's going to come up again, but it is all about timing in life. And, like, let's say Gerrard had just gone to Aston Villa and had come off the back of what he achieved with Rangers. There's probably a much bigger conversation now about Steven Gerrard maybe being the next Liverpool manager, but because he kind of didn't do well and then has gone to Saudi, that's dissipated away. So sometimes it's just timing. Alonso's stock is really high now. It will probably be high in 5 or 6 years, but you never know. And styles change. So if I'm Alonso, I'm grabbing it with both hands. That's my honest opinion. So no, I don't feel Bayern are as big a concern. I think I'd be astonished if he isn't the next Liverpool manager. Absolutely astonished. Bayern lost again today. Do you think Tuchel will be sacked? Well, the reports are, Mez, that he's not going to be sacked and he isn't going to quit. But what I read from that is, and this is just my opinion, he's gone in the summer and they don't want to have to find somebody to come in now in the meantime. I think it suits everyone to just keep him there for now. That's my opinion on it. You hear other things like Mourinho's learning German and stuff, but at what point do we say Tuchel's a fucking failure as a manager? Because what has he actually achieved? You know, he was at Dortmund, PSG shit the bed, Bayern Munich are shit in the bed, Chelsea shit the bed. At what point do you say he constantly shits the bed? I don't get it. It's weird that like managers get rewarded for failure. And look, I know to a certain extent every manager will fail somewhere, but Tuchel's failed a lot. Nagelsmann would concern me as well. It's weird. I don't know. He won a Champions League with Chelsea, yes, but ultimately he was sacked. So, look, of the jobs he's had, that's the one that certainly he's delivered silverware in, but you then go and sack him. Like, I can't imagine us sacking a Champions League winning manager that quickly. I don't know. I just haven't rated him, to be honest with you, for most of his career. I've always found it difficult to take to him. Maybe that's it. Maybe I don't give him his credit. Nagelsmann fits our playing current players. I don't know. Nagelsmann worries me. And again, I'm going to be honest. I feel like we have the best German, and the other German's going to be a pale imitation of the best German. So that's my own stupidity. But I'd prefer Nagelsmann over Tuchel. I feel comfortable enough to say that, but it can't be just me that feels like it's Alonso or nobody at this point. And I know it can't be nobody, but it's Alonso, right? It just is. It feels right. It seems the timing's right. Most of the fans be on side with it. It's a goodwill appointment. He's doing really well at Leverkusen. It just, I don't know, it almost feels like he's doing what Klopp did in, breaking the stranglehold of Bayern in Germany and then zipping on into a nice little job at Liverpool. Just feels like it's perfect. And I know sometimes in life, perfect doesn't work out, but I feel this time it will. It's a bit like Highlander, there can only be one. Yeah, it feels like anybody else would be a disappointment at this point. Amorim, he's not going to get us excited. Nagelsmann, I don't know. For me, the heartstrings are being pulled on by Alonso. Craig, the FAI need to get their act together. We've 2 friendlies next month and still no manager. Yes, I agree. Carsley's apparently ruled himself out. Who do you end up with? Roy Keane or Neil Lennon maybe? I don't know. Yeah, it's a difficult one for the FAI because we don't have the money of some other football associations to tempt some other type managers unless Dermot Desmond or somebody starts writing checks again. Did you see the Holgate red card? I didn't. No, I didn't. Yeah, I seen the second, I think the last half hour of the Brighton game earlier. Right, my friends, I'm going to say goodnight to you all. Again, thank you for sticking with us tonight. It's been, 2 hours now? I've had loads of fun. I had my little rant at the start of the stream as well, which I'm sure I'm going to get crucified for, but hey ho, I'll still be here tomorrow, 4 o'clock for our afternoon stream, and then 8:30 tomorrow night for the late night agenda as well. So thank you to you all for joining me. We've hit 1,000 likes again, thanks to your amazing support. Thank you to Mark, our chief moderator as well. And of course, all the guys in the background. But most importantly to you guys for being here with us night after night. Couldn't do it without you. Wouldn't want to do it without you. And I will see you tomorrow. Much love. Bye.